I'm Champaign native Emily Harrington. You're watching the podcast where townies and transplants share their tales of tears and triumphs, losses and wins, proving week after week that everyone has a story to tell. Welcome to HyperLocals. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the next episode of the HyperLocals podcast. I am very, very excited because there's something so relevant going on in my life right now that it occurred to me that it would be a huge mistake if I didn't ask this person to come on the pod because of their energy and life and dramatic flair. So I have Miss Jaclyn Loewenstein. Hello.
Hello.
You walked here.
I did walk here.
Okay, it's so funny because we kind of went back and forth. I caught you during a very busy week to try to schedule this. And then this morning you said, I'm actually up early, which is not your style.
No, it's not. I'm a theater person.
Okay.
So we kind of have usually late nights and not so early mornings.
Okay, and that's your style.
That's my style. That's
okay.
Just my clock.
Your clock. Now, you said you had a bad dream. So tell me about the dream last night.
Oh, my bad dream. No, I woke up at 7 a.m. Having a dream that I was late for our session here this morning and that I had to ride my bicycle and then that I parked it illegally and then somebody took my bike apart. I don't even have a bike.
Oh, that's so this has been on your mind. You went to bed thinking about this, but you made it in time.
I did.
So here we are. Now, for you and I, this past week has been very busy. For you, even more so. So my son was enrolled in your Showstoppers program via Class Act.
Yes.
Okay. You kind of describe the Showstoppers as the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
They are a select group of individuals. These are middle schoolers. Mm-hmm. And they have about 6 months of class, and it culminates in 4 or 5 performances spanning over 1 week. Mm-hmm. Genius to do 2 previews at the assisted living places. That was genius.
Oh, thanks.
Is that just your format?
It varies. I try to take my students to some of their independent living, assisted living, senior communities.
Sure.
I've been doing this for years, and I think I probably bring my students every other year so that as the kids cycle through, they at least get one chance to get out there and share their talents and bring so much joy to the seniors.
Yes. There was some full rooms.
Yeah.
I mean, those people were into it.
Absolutely.
They loved it. And it gave the kids such a great dress rehearsal.
Yeah.
Technical difficulties.
Yes.
How do you get through that without losing your SHIT?
Oh,
because I felt for you.
Oh, you mean when we were with the Windsor when the Bluetooth wasn't
We were at the Windsor
right?
Savoy and the music just kept going in and out.
Yeah.
How do you deal with that?
I mean, it's live theater, so it's just part of the drill, Things happen. Some of my favorite moments in shows have been when I've had to pause the show.
Oh, sure.
I directed the Penguin Project for Champaign Urbana Theater Company, which is theater with kids who have disabilities.
Okay.
And when we did Finding Nemo a couple years ago, we were supposed to perform at Centennial High School. Their air conditioning went out during our tech week, so we couldn't really rehearse there. And the very last day that we were supposed to open, we were told, no, you can't. And we had to scramble and find a new place. We ended up doing it at Mahomet Seymour High School.
Oh, my gosh.
And just moved the little set and had maybe 2 hours of rehearsal to acclimate to the space and get everything, the sound working. And these are kids with disabilities and all kinds of, neurodivergent and all kinds of added challenges, and they have peer mentors that they work with. So we just, I was like, we're doing this. And the lead, little Nemo's microphone
oh no,
wasn't working. I think it was hers. in the first scene, and I was in the front row, and I just stood up, and I was just like, hold, please, we're going to get this fixed.
Yeah.
And then the kids who were on stage for that scene, I just had them introduce themselves to the audience and tell everybody who their character was. We just sort of paused, and it was delightful. And then the mic got fixed, and we went on. But
that would break me, and you handle it with such humor and grace.
It's just, I guess if I didn't know how to handle that, I'd have a lot of trouble in theater. It's not like movies and things where you just go cut and you do another take, and no one knows that the mistakes happened. You just have to wing it. But I've at times been at professional productions in the West End in London where they had to pause the show for a minute.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And we never really found out why. It was like 5 minutes, actually. And that was a show that had been running for years. Sure. Operation Mincemeat. So I don't, I think it's really fun to see real life happen and
pull back that curtain and literally. Yeah.
And my students, I always tell them, I don't care if you make a mistake or you screw up, you just gotta keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah.
When I saw you after the Windsor show, you came up and approached the audience and you kind of asked for questions. And why I connected you to the podcast was you started talking about your mom, her experience in that kind of a facility and how she impacted the trajectory of your dramatic experiences.
Definitely.
So tell me about that as we kind of get into your origin story.
My origin. That makes me sound really old. But so I grew up in a theatrical home. My mother, who's now 88, going on 89, had a mother who was a pianist.
Okay.
So it came from her, who played piano, and my mother and her brother, who was older, had a little brother-sister act in the early 40s.
Oh my gosh.
So my mom was born in 1937, and so during World War II, they performed hundreds of shows.
No way.
For the troops, and he played accordion and trumpet and sang, and she sang and danced and whatever and did impressions. We have these ridiculous photos of her. Sorry, Mom. Dressed up really sassy, like Mae West.
Okay.
And with the bright lipstick and the feathers and the
Flapper.
No, not Flapper. Well, no, I don't know how to describe it. You've got to look
Mae
up
West.
Mae
Okay,
West.
Google Mae West.
It's why don't you come up and see me sometime? Okay. That kind of Mae West. So she's 5 years old or something.
Oh, so funny.
Doing this kind of thing. But so she grew up in showbiz.
Sure.
And was always kind of a singing comedian, I think, as she grew up, and she started teaching students like I do now when she was 16 years old.
Wow.
At a studio on Devon Avenue in Chicago. So she, really had a knack for it and a love of musical theater, and was teaching, was doing customized performances. She would perform at people's anniversaries or birthday parties or different events, and she would interview them and find out information about their lives and then write song parodies that incorporated things from their lives. And she still, to this day, loves writing song parodies and is still doing that.
At 88.
Yeah.
Why did she decide to teach over pursuing a life in New York or a life in...
You'd have to ask her that, but I think Chicago is a great city, and that was home. Yeah. And back in those days, she had never been on an airplane or anything. They didn't travel much. I don't think it wasn't the same attraction of you've got to go to one of the coasts.
Sure.
I think, and also, that's where their life was. That's where her family and father's work was. And so she started teaching, and then she really wanted to go to college, which again was not so common in the 50s.
Sure.
When she was going. She went to Northwestern.
Oh, gosh.
In speech education.
Okay.
So kind of, was on the the teacher track.
Sure, so it made sense.
There was an idea that like being an actor wasn't necessarily a respectable kind of career for a young woman to go into at that time.
Sure.
So she did. Yeah, she had her college career was broken up because she got married and got pregnant in the middle of it.
Okay.
Had 2 children and then went back to school.
Okay.
And then eventually had me.
So she had eventually had you.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to pick up with how this evolves into your hobby, career, life.
Sure.
When we come back. And we are back. Okay. We are at the point where little Jackie is born. And you're in this family that your brothers, your sisters, your mom, your dad gets roped into some things. I mean, you're in a dramatic, theatrical, supported family.
Yes.
So what do you remember of your first experience in the theater?
There was a theater camp up in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin called Harand Camp. It still exists, but now it's at Carthage College up in Wisconsin.
Okay.
So it's a very different vibe. But it was a theater camp that my family was already involved with. So my brother and sister were campers. My dad was the camp doctor.
Oh my gosh.
And my mom taught and directed there. So I was brought along. I remember as young as 4,
Wow.
I was brought there. And then I started being a camper when I was 6. Like the youngest, my first role there was a munchkin in The Wizard of Oz.
Did you have a feeling that this was it for you? I mean, that you loved the stage?
I really loved it, and it came very naturally to me. At that point, I don't think I thought that much about this is what I want to be when I grow up.
Okay.
But once I took a liking to it and was exposed so much, like my mother had rehearsals in our basement all the time for this little traveling show she was directing. So I was there working, when I was 6 years old, I was working the reel-to-reel tape recorders, if you know what that is. It's, it's so ancient.
Is it like the big metal circles?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I knew all the cues, and I was pressing the music to go when I was 6.
So this is really a family affair.
It was.
It really was.
It was. And I started taking creative drama lessons, and we saw the tour of Annie that came through when I was 9. And
through Chicago?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was after it had been on Broadway. This was probably 1979 or 80. And that was it for me. Once I saw those little orphans belting their faces off, I came home and was like, I want to sing like that.
Okay.
And my brother and sister said, just open your mouth and go for it. And I did. I don't want to do it here because I'll blow your microphone out. But, it turns out I had a big voice. And I pretty quickly figured out how to use it and started to sing Tomorrow at anywhere I could at talent shows and anywhere. And then I got involved in a performing arts program, a musical theater program up in Highland Park, Illinois.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And I was invited to be part of their troupe that did little shows and toured around to all different places like senior retirement communities and a children's hospital and all different events. So honestly, that's where I learned how this can go, and that's sort of what I'm doing now with my students.
Is singing learned? Or is it something you're born with?
Oh, gosh. Some people definitely just have a natural affinity for it and a good ear, ability to match pitch, and just understand how their instrument works. You can see that, sometimes from very, very young.
Sure, yes.
And, some people like it, but it takes work and practice to learn how to match the pitches, match the tones, and get a kind of sound. But people have different kinds of voices, different styles and
not pretty ones. Like I don't have a pretty voice. Mm-hmm. But you think I could practice, train, and learn to be tolerable to the ear?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Not Mariah Carey, but tolerable.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I'll shoot for.
That'll be our next podcast.
Okay, there you go.
We'll just do a nice lung no. I'm not a voice teacher. That's not my main thing. I'm not classically trained. I studied voice for most of my life on and off.
Sure.
I know a lot about the voice, enough to work with the kids, but I also bring on a professional music director and voice teacher to make sure that they are doing everything in a healthy way.
Yeah, oh, sure.
And
you went to Northwestern.
no, my mom went to Northwestern.
Okay. Where did...
I went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill.
Okay, and what are we majoring in when we're there?
Yeah, so I decided in high school that I wanted to find something to do or see if there was anything I could enjoy besides theater.
Okay.
Because that's what my voice teacher recommended. Not because I had a bad voice or anything, mind you, but she had sons who were professional actors on Broadway and on the road, and she advised to everyone, if you can do anything else and be happy, do it.
Interesting.
So I felt obligated to find out if there was anything else that I could be happy doing.
Okay.
And I knew by then that I definitely didn't like the roller coaster of emotions that came along with auditioning and being rejected.
Yeah.
I already had opportunities to have an agent in Chicago and audition for TV and film opportunities, and even got called back and came close for some things and then didn't get them. And, I kind of already knew
That feeling.
I don't like having that little control over my life.
No.
And that wasn't for me. Some people are fine with it.
Yeah.
And more power to them. That's what you need. You need to love the auditioning process and still somehow be able to support yourself. But I think I came around by the time I was 16 or so to think that I would like to find some more security.
Sure,
or
diversify.
Some way to have more security. So I majored in journalism.
Okay.
In undergrad. You didn't know this.
So for like newscasting, writing.
I started in broadcast because I thought it would be something like theater. Like
100%.
I thought it would be theatrical, but it wasn't at all. I did not like it.
Too rigid?
Yeah, too rigid.
Okay.
You couldn't be expressive. You have to be very
Stoic, yeah.
Yes,
yeah.
very. Yeah, so really quickly I thought, no, not that.
Not
so
that.
I switched to the public relations track, which is, we still did all the writing, like the journalistic writing, and I worked for the newspaper. I wrote theater reviews.
Oh, that's a perfect mesh.
Kind of, yeah. It was like I liked it, but I get really uptight about finding exactly the right word all the time. So I couldn't whip things out as fast as you need to, and make the deadlines in a way that made myself happy. So anyway, but the public relations was good, and that ended up helping me get a job doing marketing and PR at a theater, the theater that I grew up at, basically.
Really?
So that was my first job after college.
Is this downtown? Is this Chicago?
No, this was in Highland Park, which is in northern suburbs. Yeah.
Okay, so you're marrying these two things.
Yeah.
And was this an ideal scenario?
It was for a first job, yeah.
Okay.
Because it was a tiny theater, only like 4 of us on the staff. And so I was exposed to every part of the running of the theater, in addition to running their performing arts workshop, which is the same one that I grew up performing in.
So there's a lot of nostalgia.
Yeah.
And heart ties to this.
Yeah, and my mentor, who had brought me into that program when I was 10 or 11, was my boss.
Oh my gosh.
So eventually, after a few years there, and I was dipping my toe in assistant directing and teaching, and as well as the administrative part, I was going to get a master's in arts administration. I thought, okay, so I'm going to stay practical and do something where I can actually have a job.
Sure.
And my boss, Eileen Bovers was her name, said, Jackie, stop fighting it. Go get an MFA in directing or acting.
Okay.
She said, you'd be a fantastic artistic director someday. And I've seen you do this your whole life. Just go for it. And so it was that confidence that she had in me that made me go, okay.
And so this is what we're going to do.
So I did. I applied to MFA in directing programs.
Okay, so tell me what MFA stands for.
MFA, yes, Master of Fine Arts.
Okay. So you didn't like the auditioning, so you knew you weren't going to pursue acting as a career.
Yeah.
But you had the bug so much that you had to find something in that genre, in that vein. And this was it.
Yeah.
The advice, diversify your education, right? You would pass on to your daughters.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
For sure.
So priceless advice for you, given to you and to your daughters, that to try to get an education in something else.
Yeah.
Unless you just can't live without it.
Exactly. And I certainly have students right now who've come up through my program who are in musical theater programs and just applied for them and are going to go to school for musical theater or acting. And they'll do great and they'll have a wonderful time, and then they'll see how they do in the real world.
Okay.
We'll see.
So you don't discourage and you don't encourage just strictly staying on that path.
Right. What I do say is try not to go into major debt paying for a theater college education.
Okay.
If your family can afford the program you want to go to, absolutely do it, go for it. But the odds of earning back and being able to pay off that debt with actual theater work is challenging.
You keep it real.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's important. So we're going to take our second break, and then when we come back, I want to talk about getting the MFA and where that takes you.
Okay.
When we come back. Okay, we are back. Miss Jackie, okay, we've got our Masters of Fine Arts. So we need to find a job at this point.
Yeah. So I did the Masters of Fine Arts in directing at Illinois State.
Oh, wow.
Down the road. And
now that's where I went to school.
oh.
I wonder if we overlapped. I graduated college in 06.
Okay, no, I'm so much older than you.
Oh, okay. Well, that's okay.
But
you don't look it.
No, I was there from 94 to 97.
Okay.
Really 96 because the last semester we had to do an internship.
Okay.
So that led me to New York City and Broadway. So at that time I was trained in directing, had done some teaching at the college level as the master's students do.
Sure.
And then I wanted to get into casting.
Okay.
So I pursued internships in the casting world for Broadway. So my internship was for Johnson Liff Casting, who was the biggest casting director group doing all the major musicals like Les Mis and Miss Saigon and Cats and Phantom of the Opera and Sunset Boulevard. And
so a good gig to get.
It was a good gig. I mean, it was an unpaid internship, but
sure.
Or maybe I got paid a little. I don't even remember. But I worked there for 6 months and got to watch auditions and take notes. Actually, this is just a fascinating little sidebar. My main casting director I worked with, he was quadriplegic. He had had an accident. So I wrote for him at auditions. So he got to whisper things in my ear and I took his notes for him.
Wow.
We're watching auditions for Cats and Sideshow, which is about the Siamese twins. Daisy and Violet Hilton. It's a fascinating show that opened while I was there. Funny thing happened on the way to the Forum with Whoopi Goldberg opened like a week after I started. So I got immersed in that world.
What about New York apartment living? I mean, you're a young girl on your own in New York City.
This is so old-fashioned. My first place I lived was called the Webster House or something. And it was like a women's residence. It was like a dormitory straight out of the 30s. It was like had not been updated at all. But we had no men allowed above the lobby. And we had a little room and, shared bathrooms and everybody there was like
trying
doing
to make
internships and stuff.
Yes.
So I had, my best friends were like working on the Rosie Show and Oprah's show. And
How cool.
So I lived there for that 6 months and then I decided I wanted to stay for a while and I got two other gigs. I got what they called an observership.
Okay.
Which is like an early career director gig on the Diary of Anne Frank Broadway production. It was going to be a remount a revised version with Natalie Portman as Anne Frank, and a bunch of other really famous people, Linda Lavin, and
So you came in contact with these people.
oh yeah.
Oh wow.
I was.
How did you get that? I mean, these sound like great jobs.
I was a go-getter. I mean, I still am,
guess.
but I love networking and just making connections, and it was something you could apply for. You know, it's through the SSDC, which is the Society of Stage Directors and Choreographers.
Okay.
So I remember I got $500 for it. It was paid by industry standards, and I got to be in on everything from the first rehearsals in New York, and then we did an out-of-town tryout in Boston for 3 weeks, and then it opened on Broadway, and I was in on all of that. Yeah, I mean, I rode in Natalie Portman's car with her and her mom and her dog from New York to Boston. So,
after talking about this, I'm thinking Champaign doesn't know how lucky they are. You know what I mean? I'm interested to see how you get to Champaign.
oh yeah, okay.
But
Yeah, so I just got to talk faster here.
New York, you burned out on New York?
No, I didn't burn out. I after the Anne Frank gig, I went and worked for a producer that produces the musical Chicago as their big thing. So that had just opened, and I was in their casting. I was the casting assistant there. So I did that, and I during that time I had met my now husband.
Okay.
And he was back in Chicago.
Where did you meet him?
My sister fixed us up.
Okay.
I mean, if you really want to know the story, briefly, he's a psychologist. He was doing a study with preschoolers. She brought her preschooler in to be a subject in his study.
Sure.
And she thought he seemed like a neat person for me to meet, and she asked him if he was dating anyone, and said she wanted him to meet her sister. And I happened to be visiting in Chicago in Evanston that weekend. So we met, and then I went back to New York, but we started long distance, and
the rest is history.
The rest is history. So I liked New York, but I also felt like a year and a half there was enough to see what it was like, and that I preferred to come back to Chicago and get engaged and
start a family.
Go home, start a family, yeah.
A more traditional lifestyle.
Yeah.
Did that appeal to you? That traditional lifestyle?
I mean, I don't think a person in theater is ever really traditional, but yeah, I wanted to be back near my family, and that's where he was finishing at Northwestern, and so then we got married. I got back into teaching, so I went back and taught at the two main places that I had studied as a child. Taught and directed for a few years, and then had our first baby, and then he got a postdoc in New York. So we went back to New York.
Oh wow! Okay.
For 2 years.
But now you got a baby on board.
Now I got a baby and another one on the way.
Okay.
And I still did some teaching and directing, and got out to see shows when I could. And then we moved to Austin, Texas, where he got his first job, and then we moved here to Champaign.
Okay, because of his job.
Yes.
Ultimately.
Yes.
Through these moves from New York to Austin to Champaign, were you fulfilled creatively?
Yes,
I
was. In Austin, I got connected with Zach Theater, which was a professional theater in town, and I started a pre-professional musical theater training program for kids there. Okay. So I was, same thing I'm doing here now.
Yeah.
But it was a bigger community there.
Sure.
A little more competitive. And we did really top-notch professional quality shows. One of my students ended up being cast in Billy Elliot on Broadway during that time, in the original cast of that. And that was kind of a big deal.
Do you feel pride when they go on to do big things?
Yes. I mean, as much as I say, don't count on it, this is a really tough career, of course I feel pride when somebody can break out and make it.
That you had a little part in that.
Yeah.
Or a big part.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're in Champaign. So everywhere you go, you need to find your people and your community and the resources here, and then you kind of go with it as a go-getter.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you came to Champaign, what was the scene like?
Well, so we moved here in 2011. It's going to be 15 years. And the day after we moved in June, my daughters and I went and auditioned for The Music Man at Champaign Urbana Theater Company. And
how old are your daughters at this point?
They were 7 and 10.
So are they starting to develop their own dramatic flair?
They already had been doing my kids' shows in Austin.
Okay.
So yes, they already showed interest and talent and also, enjoyed. So it wasn't like I dragged them like, you're going to this audition for Music Man, whether you like it or not.
It wasn't hard to get them to go.
They wanted to go.
Okay.
And all 3 of us were cast. So that was our first summer. And they started at Barkstall. So they actually started school on the balanced calendar in July.
Okay. So that's year-round school, essentially, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay.
So we did Music Man, and that was a lot of fun. So I met a lot of people. And it was that summer that I met Natalie Ellis, who ran Class Act.
Okay.
So this performing arts studio. And we got together and talked, and, she found out about my background, and she had been doing a lot of improv teaching mostly, not musical theater yet. And so she opened the doors for me to come start a musical theater program there.
Okay.
So I got that going pretty quickly with an audition workshop, and
oh my gosh,
and then just
you are a go-getter.
Started building what Class Act is now.
Okay, we're gonna take our third break, and when we come back, I want to talk about she kind of handed you the reins of Class Act. So we're gonna talk about that transition when we come back.
Okay.
And we are back. Okay, Miss Jackie, tell me what you're going to say. You have more teachers?
Oh, yes. That Class Act has grown. I have more teachers now than ever before.
And kind of diversified offerings then?
Yeah.
Because you have the more teachers? Okay.
Yeah.
In 2013, the owner of Class Act is going to do something else, and she gifts you the business.
Yeah.
Okay, and I asked you if you're a willing recipient.
I was, very. We were operating out of what was called Sodo Theater back then, which is now known as the Axe Bar.
Oh my God!
On Neal Street,
yes,
right up the road.
Yes.
And so it was had a little stage and some lights and chairs, and that was a space that was shared by a number of theater companies.
Okay.
Myself, Twin City Theater Company, Zoo Improv.
Oh my!
And my
gosh.
students would do shows with Zoo Improv. Which we still occasionally do. It's been a while, but so that was a nice space to be, and it was easy, and we could have classes and performances right there.
Sure.
And then, as luck would have it, in March 2020, my lease was up, and they were gonna take over. The Axe Bar was taking over the space, so I had to clear out in March 2020, and then the world shut down.
Okay.
So that was just a crazy coincidence, and luckily
it worked in your favor.
It worked in my favor.
Sure.
So I moved Class Act online and learned how to do online theater, and it was actually like some of the most exciting times in a weird way. There's a company that makes musicals that I often do, Beat by Beat Press.
Okay.
That very quickly put together this show called The Show Must Go Online.
Oh my gosh.
So cute. And they put that together in like a month as soon as COVID started, and I grabbed it and distributed roles to my core group of showstoppers that I had at the moment, and everyone got to videotape themselves at home, and I helped them work out lighting and sound and costumes, just like had individual sessions with them, and then learned how to edit it all together. And I had a part in that one. There was a teacher role, so I'm in that too.
Oh, you're in it?
Yes, I'm in it too. So that's how I spent like April of 2020, and that
was the beginning too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So we did that really quickly, and I got kind of famous for it because I was the first theater company to mount that, produce that show, and it turned out really well, and the kids were really talented. So then Denver Casado, who's the writer of that, wanted to interview me, kind of like you are now,
gosh,
and how did I do it? And I don't even know. I have to look how many views it's had now on YouTube, but it became sort of
viral,
yeah. And then, tons of theater groups all over the world started doing that show. But I did that, and then I helped Denver develop his next online musical that fall.
Okay.
So we were kind of the pilot guinea pig program for one called Could You Hug a Cactus? And so that was a really neat way to connect with my students, stay connected, and also brought in a lot of new people.
Yeah, everyone wants something to do, be able to do.
Some people who maybe didn't have time previously to get involved. So that was an interesting little era of keeping the online classes going. And then we came back strong and have been expanding the program regularly. I have, I think, 5 or 6 other teachers besides myself right now who teach a variety of different classes.
Sure. Including circus arts.
Circus arts, yeah.
Which
Joe Reichlin, yeah. He was a circus kid, like I was a theater kid. He's done circus his whole life and loves sharing that art.
Yes, and my son loves learning that art. So funny. Okay, when COVID disintegrates a little bit, where's your home now?
We started renting space at Academy High.
Oh, okay.
Which was a new high school.
At the time. Yep. Mm-hmm. And to this day, you still do that.
We still do that. They were in a different space then, and then they moved to our current space. And that's just a nice private high school that doesn't have much going on the weekends and after school and evenings.
They let you have access.
Classes. So it's worked out really well. And then occasionally I rent Countryside School for performances and do a big summer camp there that your son has also been in. And I also teach the drama program at Countryside School.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is that a daily thing?
It's no, just Tuesdays and Thursdays for a few hours.
Okay, so you're a pretty busy woman.
I'm pretty busy, but as busy as I want to be. I have,
Do you feel stress? You don't seem like you feel stress a lot.
Honestly, not really.
Yeah.
Not really
What
anymore.
a great trait.
I've been doing this for so long, and it's not like I never felt stress.
Yeah, okay.
But honestly, I think COVID helped that a lot because I think my focus shifted after COVID to just really wanting to give these students a nice, positive, safe space to connect with each other and do something they all love, be creative, build up confidence.
Yep.
And I would say earlier in my career, I was much more focused on the product and micromanaging everything. And I've loosened up in a way and realized that
the journey,
I can take a step back and bring the kids together who want to be there and guide them. And I get such joy watching them bond and have fun together. And they're not on their devices and they're interacting in real time and growing and thriving. And especially when I get to see them over years, some of them I have from when they were like 7 years old and now they're 14 or now they're 17.
Seniors in high school.
Yeah.
There is a stereotype, I believe, with, quote, theater kids, right? And the production that you put on this past week really showed that, personified that. Tell me about theater kids, what makes them special or different from others.
Oh, wow. There's, I don't want to stereotype, but like a lot of them are very outgoing extroverts, but then a lot of them aren't. Some of them are quite introverted, but give them a chance to step into someone else's shoes and play another role, step outside themselves.
Yeah.
And they shine and have all the confidence in the world. And then they exit the stage and they're back into their introverted state. So it's, and that's the same, not just kids, theater adults too.
Sure.
Some super talented people in this community and everywhere who, if you just talk to them in real life, you would never guess that they have in them, the voice and the power that you see them bring on stage.
That's really interesting. They get to become someone else.
Yeah.
That's so okay. Extroverts or introverts mostly? Would you
I would say mostly extroverts.
Okay.
But, it varies. And I think, in general, what are the stereotypes are like they like attention.
Yeah.
Not afraid of attention.
Sure. And this is a healthy, good way to get that.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we go on, I wanted to, this is interesting, the process of adopting a screenplay that you buy it goes from Broadway to this, to that, to the smaller markets. Explain that to me.
Yeah, so not a screenplay, but a script.
Okay, what's
Screenplay is for movies.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is just that's okay. I'm an educator.
I love it. I love
script. Yeah, so there are many different ways that scripts happen. So there are a lot of companies that are writing things purposefully for children and teens.
Okay.
And I tend to gravitate towards that sort of material for my program.
Okay.
They can play age-appropriate characters and deal with situations and things that they can relate to.
Sure.
There were other shows, like last year I did do Mean Girls Junior.
Okay.
That had just come out.
More quote unquote well known.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But it's very rare for me to decide to do a show that has a name like that.
Oh, interesting.
I did the Mean Girls Junior because it was new and some of my longtime showstoppers requested it, and I thought it would be a good fit for them. So I did that. But so normally, a show goes through years and years of development, eventually makes it to Broadway, lasts on Broadway however long it lasts, goes on tour around the country, Chicago, St. Louis, people can see it. And then once that's lost steam, eventually the rights become available to professional theaters regionally or schools and amateur theaters.
Okay.
So it's a fairly long process.
And then you pay a lump sum and you have the rights to it for so many performances?
Yeah, a lump sum and then a certain amount per performance.
Jeez. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to take our last break. And then when we come back, I want to talk about the Station Theater and how to encourage your kids to practice when they maybe are dragging their feet.
Okay.
When we come back. And we are back. Okay. I wanted to ask you how you feel at the end of a run. We are at the end of your run. We had the last performance last night. So this morning, late last night, what is that feeling?
It's like this weird combination of relief and sadness.
Yeah.
Like there's a real withdrawal that the kids will feel. So
Gosh.
Get ready for your son. That's a very real thing in theater. You really bond with the people and get so invested and work on it for a long time and think about it, and you've got the songs in your head and and then you do it and it's this big high and the audiences love it and then it's done.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to go, there are times when I've been in shows, especially when I'm just like, how am I going to live without these people, without seeing these people every day? You do get really attached, and it's a very emotional journey to share that kind of experience. You have to trust, again, this is more when you're on stage than directing probably, but you have to build real trust with everybody and respect, and you admire your co-performers and everyone involved, and there's
So it's more relationship that you're missing.
It's a lot of relationship and love in a way, and for me as the director and teacher, so much love for these kids and what they've accomplished. I'm so proud of them.
Yes.
And just to see them loving what they're doing up there is the best.
And you can tell. I mean, you can just tell these kids loved every minute of it.
And then to see their parents and their grandparents and their friends and their siblings be like, wow.
Yes. Yeah.
That was, I mean, usually, I think the most common thing I've gotten throughout my career when I do kids shows is people being like, that was better than I thought it would be.
That's what my husband said.
That's not normal children's theater.
Yes. It was, impressive. Okay. These are my personal therapeutic notes. Every parent thinks that their kid is really talented. Okay. Like, I think Fletcher's very talented.
Mm-hmm. He is.
And I put him in your court, right, to develop, foster dramatic skills, okay, in a healthy way, right? Because I know he's a dramatic kid, but let's see if we can put that on stage. I said, at the end of this Showstoppers experience, I said, how are you reflecting on it? And he said, I loved performing, but I just don't like practicing. That makes me crazy. To get good at something, you're going to have to practice and put in the work. So how do I encourage that without forcing it on him? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I would ask him, do you think we could have had a show this good if we didn't come and practice once a week? I mean, honestly, they only came once a week for 3 hours.
I hear you, okay? I hear you.
I know it was
He needs more time to relax, is what he says. I'm like, are you kidding me? Okay, yeah, right.
Yeah, I think he'll see, maybe he's going to be a stand-up comic or something. Maybe maybe he'll do musical theater and other kinds of classes. I know he takes the improv class also.
And circus, yeah.
And circus, and he'll do put on a musical camp.
Yeah.
Which is quick, let's talk to him after that.
The pace
that's 3 hours a day for just 9 days, and then you're done. So I'd be curious if that kind of condensed experience he likes better rather than once a week for many months.
I think 100%. Why is there fewer? So I'm going to go home tonight, okay? And I'm going to ask him, do you think the performance would have been as good? That's how you're kind of telling me to position it. I just think it's really smart.
Yeah.
Okay, boys versus girls in this arena. So last night there's 3 boys and
12 girls.
12 girls. How do you battle that? The bias there, the inequity.
I mean, you can't battle it. It's always been this ratio. Amazingly consistent.
Wow.
I think one thing that's interesting these days is there's more gender fluidity in general. So that's been helpful. More girls want to or are comfortable playing traditionally male characters.
Okay.
And so, non-binary kids. So like there is a real trend in theater productions to be more flexible in that way.
Okay.
As long as people can handle the vocal range of the role, or sometimes the key of the song needs to be changed.
Sure.
The way I battle it, I guess, is that I try to choose material that's gender neutral.
Yes. That we did a press start, which was like kind of gaming focused.
Yeah.
And then Theater Kids Auditioning was last week's performance. And appealing to all.
Yeah.
The Station Theater.
Yeah.
Okay. This is Urbana, Champaign Urbana's or just Urbana's community theater?
It's Urbana. It's in Urbana.
Okay.
So,
does Champaign have a station theater?
Not exactly.
Okay.
There's Champaign Urbana Theater Company, which doesn't have a theater or home of its own.
Okay.
Often performs at Parkland or the Virginia. And they primarily do musicals, primarily in the summer.
Okay.
And station theater is year-round. We do 8 or 9 shows a year, so it's one after another after another. I oversee all of them. And
you're the producing artistic director.
Correct.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And there are 2 other artistic directors. We have a team of artistic directors and our board president, Kendall. So the 4 of us do a lot of the overseeing, but we have a board also. It's a nonprofit.
Okay.
And so we have a board. We have a lot of designers, directors, stage managers who work with us fairly regularly, but we, in general, have different production staff for every show, and then a whole new pool of actors. And
yeah, is this a unique place?
I think it is to do this many shows.
Okay.
It's for a community theater. Most community theaters you'll find maybe do 4 shows a year.
Okay.
But they used to do, back in the day, they used to do more. They used to do 10 or something.
Wow.
But we have 8 this season. We're about to announce next season, which will have 9. And, it's interesting for me because I love getting to know all the people.
Sure. Oh my gosh. There's probably a scene, I imagine.
I want to know every person who comes in and works on a show.
Yeah.
And so in my role, I get to do that.
Yeah.
And, I can go to the first rehearsal if I'm available. I can pop in at rehearsals and support. And we try to bring in outside producers. I don't literally produce every show myself, but I oversee and guide new people who want to help produce. And producing doesn't mean you're giving them money for the show. That's what a lot of people think about a producer.
Yes.
A producer is just like the administrative head of the show and just kind of make sure that everything is running smoothly and helps with marketing and making sure that people get their little honorarium checks at the end. It's, we're very volunteer run completely with, small stipends. So
65 seats. Okay. And I asked you if these are big money makers. And
they're not.
Yeah.
That's not generally the goal of any nonprofit, although we love donations. We love our donors and supporters who come out. And right now we're trying to raise more funds for sustainability efforts. We really have some things. We got LED lights last year, which is a great step forward. And now we have a list of other things to be a little greener and better for the environment, to be able to reuse materials. So
I told you, it's a diamond, I think.
yeah,
Tell me about the upcoming production and let's plug all your things.
we have so much. Well, I don't know when this is running. I would say go to our website, stationtheater.com. Station Theater with a TRE at the end. Theater is one of those crazy words that's spelled 2 ways.
Okay.
I will be directing Come From Away, which is my exciting one in the summer. It'll open September 10th. And that's about the planes that were diverted on September 11th to go land in Gander, Newfoundland. And it's a beautiful, beautiful, funny, heartwarming musical.
That sounds real interesting and up my alley. So I'll be getting tickets for that. Okay. And then if their children are interested in your programming, where can they go?
Class Act Champaign.
That's very easy. Easy. Class Act Champaign.
Yeah.
Anything we missed? Did we cover it all?
Oh my gosh, there's never at all. But I mean, I think you hit the highlights. We offer classes for age 3 all the way through adult.
Oh, wow.
So that you could even come.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The adult
I
classes
wonder what Fletcher would think of that.
have a lot of fun, and it's a great outlet, even if they're not trying to be performers, it's fun.
Well, I saw the head over heels at the Station Theater and I was impressed with the talent.
Yes. No, it's amazing. Some of the top talent in town.
Yeah.
And we love exposing the kids to the the community theater options also, and I'm just a great big supporter of all theater all over town. I try to foster like collaboration with the other theater companies and offer opportunities wherever they come.
And you do a good job, very good job.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your help and passion with Showstoppers over the past 6 months. It's been a really great experience. Thank you. Bye. Thank you for listening to this week's HyperLocal show. If you like what you hear or you need anything from me, let me know at hyperlocalscu.com. Also, search and follow HyperLocalsCU on all social media. Like me, follow me. Bye.